If she suddenly comes into your mind without any clear reason, it is rarely random. It often happens because you have already appeared in her thoughts more than once. What I am about to explain is not something you hear in common dating advice or casual conversations. It is something many women experience internally before they ever put words to it, sometimes even before they fully understand it themselves. When a woman is thinking about you, she usually does not say it directly. Instead, she shows it in quiet, instinctive ways that most men overlook or misunderstand. These small actions carry more meaning than any direct confession ever could. One of the earliest signs is when she starts doing things that seem unnecessary. Not grand gestures, but small, subtle actions. She replies even when she does not need to. She finds reasons to come back into your space without an obvious purpose. A message that does not require a reply. A reaction to something from the past. A casual check-in that looks random on the surface. From the outside, it appears harmless. Internally, it is intentional. Her mind has already attached significance to you, and her emotions are looking for permission to move closer. This is something many men fail to see. When a woman thinks about you, her nervous system reacts before her logic does. She feels a gentle pull, a curiosity, a slight disruption in her emotional rhythm. Rather than addressing it directly, she tests the feeling. She reaches out lightly. She observes how you respond. She notices your tone, your timing, your calmness. This is not manipulation. It is instinct. She is checking whether thinking about you feels safe or unsettling. You may notice that she starts mirroring you without realizing it. Your words show up in her language. Your humor returns days later. Your energy begins to guide the interaction. This happens because when a woman replays you in her thoughts, she practices emotional familiarity. Familiarity creates comfort. Comfort leads to attachment. And attachment often begins long before attraction is spoken out loud. Another clear sign is her memory. She remembers small details you barely recall mentioning, passing comments, minor preferences, things you said once and forgot. This is not coincidence. The brain stores information that feels emotionally important. If she remembers, it means her mind has marked you as meaningful. Many men expect attraction to be obvious and loud. For women, it is usually quiet and gradual. It builds in the background, like pressure forming behind a wall. Notice how she responds to your absence. When you step back slightly and she fills the space, it is not insecurity. It is awareness. Your presence created a pattern, and when it pauses, her mind notices. She might ask indirect questions. She might show up where she knows you will be. She might engage more without explaining why. This is her subconscious reacting to something that feels missing. This is where the difference between men who stay on her mind and men who fade becomes clear. You do not chase these signs. You do not point them out. You do not ask for explanations. You stay steady, calm, and unhurried. When a woman senses that you are grounded in yourself, her thoughts return to you naturally. Mystery is not about being distant. It is about being complete. If she behaves this way, it is because her emotions are already ahead of her words. And once a woman's thoughts circle around someone repeatedly, emotional attachment is never far behind. When a woman cannot stop thinking about you, her emotions begin to show through her behavior in ways she does not fully control. This is where confusion often starts for men because her actions may seem inconsistent. One day she feels warm and engaged. Another day she seems distant or guarded. Many men read this as fading interest. In reality, it often means the opposite. Emotional conflict causes fluctuation. Indifference does not. Inside her mind, there is a quiet conversation happening. One part of her wants to move closer, to enjoy the comfort of your presence, to see what the connection could become. Another part is protecting her vulnerability, questioning whether this emotional pull is wise. When you occupy her thoughts, you activate both desire and caution. That inner tension appears as mixed signals, not because she is playing games, but because her feelings are still settling. You may notice that she asks questions that are not really about facts. She wants to understand how you think, not just what you do. She pays attention to your reactions, your values, your boundaries. Through this, she builds an emotional map of you. Women do not bond through information. They bond through emotional consistency. When she can predict how you will respond without guessing, she feels safer thinking about you more often. Another sign appears in how she responds to other women around you. This does not always look like obvious jealousy. Sometimes it shows as curiosity masked as indifference. Sometimes it is a subtle change in tone or energy. Sometimes it is a quiet effort to reassert her presence. When a woman is mentally invested, she becomes more aware of anything that might threaten that emotional space, even if she has not claimed you. Watch how she shares personal moments, not dramatic confessions, but small pieces of vulnerability, stories she does not tell everyone, feelings wrapped in casual language. This is her way of inviting you into her inner world without risking rejection. When she replays you in her mind, she imagines what it would feel like to be understood by you. Sharing is her way of testing that imagined safety. You might also notice that she seeks your opinion more than necessary, not because she needs approval, but because your perspective matters to her. When a woman values a man mentally, his thoughts influence how she sees herself. She wants to understand herself through your eyes. This is a deep sign of emotional interest that is often mistaken for simple friendliness. There is something rarely talked about. When a woman thinks about you often, she becomes emotionally sensitive to you. Your words carry more weight. A compliment stays with her longer. A neutral comment may be replayed in her mind. Silence can feel louder. This sensitivity is not weakness. It is emotional investment. The more space you occupy in her thoughts, the more meaning your actions carry. This is why emotional control matters. If you react impulsively, seek reassurance, or push for certainty, you disturb the emotional image she is forming. But if you stay steady, attentive without pressure, present without demand, her mind keeps returning to you. Comfort deepens. Curiosity grows. Attachment forms quietly. Understand this clearly. Women do not fall because a man convinces them. They fall because their own thoughts keep returning to him when he is not there. And if she is showing these signs, it is because you are already part of her emotional world. When you truly live in her thoughts, she does not only think about you during boredom. She thinks about you during emotional shifts, after a long day, before sleep, in quiet moments when distractions fade. This is where attachment strengthens, because these moments are tied to emotional balance. If her mind goes to you while she is unwinding or processing feelings, you have become a source of psychological comfort. You may notice that she mentions you in conversations where it is not necessary. Your name appears naturally in unrelated topics. This is not accidental. The mind references what feels emotionally important. When you occupy her thoughts, you become a mental anchor across different areas of her life. Another sign is her sensitivity to your mood. She notices your emotional state and adjusts instinctively. She becomes softer when you are quiet, more playful when you are light. This kind of emotional tuning only happens when there is real investment. It means her nervous system is beginning to align with yours. Pay attention to how time feels when you are together. Conversations stretch without effort. Endings are delayed. She may lose track of time. This distortion happens when someone is emotionally present, not monitoring outcomes, just experiencing connection. You may also see her becoming more real around you, less guarded, less polished. She shares thoughts without overthinking. This happens because she imagines a version of herself that feels safe with you. That imagined self does not need heavy defenses. This is not carelessness. It is trust slowly forming. A very subtle sign is when she remembers how you made her feel, not just what you said. Emotional memory is stronger than verbal memory. If she refers to moments where she felt calm, understood, or energized around you, it means her body registered safety. The body remembers safety longer than attraction. She may not need constant communication. Instead, she seeks emotional alignment. This is why she might step away briefly and return with the same warmth. Her connection is not driven by anxiety. It is supported by internal reassurance. You exist in her mind even when you are not present. This is where many men make mistakes. They interpret emotional depth as a signal to push forward, define things, or secure certainty. But emotional closeness grows best with space, not pressure. When you allow her thoughts to develop freely, her attachment deepens naturally. Desire matures when it is not rushed. If she thinks about you during emotionally meaningful moments, you are no longer just interesting. You are influential. You have entered her inner narrative. Once someone becomes part of how she processes emotions, detachment does not happen quickly. It fades only when safety is broken. Your role at this stage is simple. Stay consistent. Stay emotionally steady. Let your presence feel calm. When a woman associates you with emotional ease, her thoughts return to you again and again, long before she explains it to herself. When a woman thinks about you more than she realizes, a quiet shift occurs. She stops questioning why you matter and starts assuming that you do. This is when attraction becomes emotional gravity. You do not pull her closer. She moves on her own. You will feel it in how natural everything becomes. Less testing, less tension, less uncertainty. She does not need constant reassurance because her mind has already answered the question of your importance. Notice how she responds to your independence. A woman who only wants attention feels threatened by it. A woman who thinks about you respects it. Your full life reinforces the image she has built of you as someone grounded and complete. She may share deeper thoughts, fears, or hopes without expecting you to fix them. This shows emotional safety. Feeling safe to be seen is one of the strongest forms of attraction. You might also notice that she gives you the benefit of the doubt. When emotionally invested, she protects the connection internally. She interprets your actions with generosity. This is not blind loyalty. It is emotional alignment. When her mind keeps returning to you, it is because being with you regulates her emotions. She feels calmer, clearer, more herself. That is why you stay in her thoughts. You represent balance, not chaos. This is why chasing destroys connection. Chasing signals need. Presence signals wholeness. The men women think about most are not the loudest or most persistent. They are the ones who made her feel steady when everything else felt noisy. If she shows these signs, understand this deeply. You do not need to do more. You need to do less, but with intention, less forcing, less overthinking, more consistency, more self-respect, more emotional control. The moment a woman connects you with emotional peace, her mind will return to you again and again, even when you are not there.